Good morning. Thank you for joining us for the Pathfinder District 8 Toastmasters Q&A. So I'd like to introduce our panel. We have three people on our panel today. First person is Debbie Young, who's been a member of South County Toastmasters since 2016. She has held leadership positions in both the club and district level. She credits Toastmasters with making her a more confident speaker, leader, and wants to help other clubs inspire their members. Debbie has an MBA from St. Louis U. She's currently working as a project manager working in healthcare IT. Our second speaker will be our moderator person on the panel is John Berry. He has served as the District 8 Club Extension Chair and has started over 100 new clubs for corporations, associations, and community groups. John also serves as the chair of the Speakers Bureau and helps qualified speakers with speaking requests received within district area. Serving as the district marketing officer, John has received the Marketing Excellence Award, helping to lead the district to worldwide select distinguished recognition, and has been recognized as the retired Toastmaster of the Year for lifetime achievement and contributions to the Toastmaster mission. And our third speaker is Dr. Farzana Kohan. She's a multidisciplinary thought leader focused on strategic leadership inclusion within work cultures. Her professional background includes a doctorate in business management, leadership in nonprofit and healthcare architecture. Dr. Kohan's Toastmasters credentials include DTM, the Presidential Citation Award, past region advisor 2 times, and a select distinguished district director. So I appreciate you all can join us. And just to get things rolling, what I like to do is I'm going to start asking you all a question. And I'm going to start maybe with John Berry. So John Berry, somebody asked, how do I join the Speakers Bureau?
Okay, good question, Tom. Yeah, there's a link on District 8, a big link on Speakers Bureau, and when you click on it, it gives you 2 options: join the Speakers Bureau, and you just click on that, and you'll be requested to give your bio and maybe a short picture. I mean, a picture, and then a short list of topics you can talk on, and that'll come to me. And yeah, we're in the process now of adding pictures and bios to our website. So that's our goal, is to create a Speakers Bureau, a professional like Speakers Bureau, where our goal is to be maybe the go-to Speakers Bureau in St. Louis. And we're promoting ourselves. We have a link a year and a half ago, when you clicked on District 8 Speakers Bureau, we didn't even appear, but we're trying to optimize that. And now we appear maybe number 10 if you do a Google search on Speakers Bureau. So we're moving up. We're getting noticed. Then of course the pandemic hit, so we're not getting a lot of in-person requests, but the virtual world out there, there's a unlimited amount of speaking opportunities out there. So that kind of answers that question. If you want to join the Speakers Bureau, click on the link and fill out your bio and topics. And the requirement is you should have at least a CC or a level 2 in Toastmasters, and maybe a reference from 2 people from the deck meeting. So any other questions on that?
We'll just, I haven't seen any others, but we're just going to go through one round and then we'll open it up again.
Okay.
So one thing I will mention, if you put this on gallery view, you'll just see the 3 speakers, and it may be easier than doing, not gallery view. If you put on speaker view, you'll see our 3 speakers as opposed to gallery view. I would suggest that. So I'd like to ask Debbie, can I get credit for Pathways project outside the club meeting?
Thank you for that question, Tom. Yes, you can. In fact, Tom himself is a perfect example of that. He is actually doing this panel moderation as a Pathways Level 5 project for his path. There are instructions on getting approval in advance from your vice president of education, but definitely you can get credit outside your club.
Thank you, Debbie. And Farzana, what characteristics are essential in a leader?
Thank you, Tom, for that question. It's a great question, and I ponder upon it a lot as I have moved through my leadership journey. Rupinder talked about leader being influencer. I my opinion is that the two characteristics which are really important in a leader is humility and empathy. If you can connect with your team members, in our example, our members in Toastmasters in District 8, and do it with utmost humility, and you have an empathy in understanding who they are, where they are coming from, and how you can help them in growing into leaders, those two characteristics really are at top of being a leader. Everything else follows it.
Thank you, Farzana. So at this point, I will entertain questions in chat. Benoit, so if you want to add questions, feel free. But I have some other questions for our speakers while we, unless we hear speakers from people out there. So John, somebody asked, what kind of outside speaking gigs are available? Gigging.
You're kidding? That what you said? Yeah,
No,
right.
someone's gigging.
Someone's gigging outside. Now they're all inside speaking gigs, Tom. There's a pandemic going on, in case you haven't heard, but but that's a lot of opportunity. The virtual speaking gigs, we used to get maybe one or two requests a month for an outside or let's call it an in-person speaking opportunity. There were associations or companies or Kiwanis Club type things or chambers of commerce, luncheon type talks. Now with today's world, our speaking gigs are virtual, so we're promoting ourselves as a virtual speakers bureau. I guess just like all the professional speakers out there, how do you keep yourself relevant in a virtual world? So that's the challenge we have right now, but there's plenty of speaking opportunities virtually among clubs in this district or around the world.
Thank you, John. So we have our first audience question, and I'll let one of you decide if you'd like to answer it, or maybe you don't want. No, I'm just kidding. What is the best way to go from using notes to not using notes? Is using notes a problem? Farzana, ding, 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 ding. For 100.
It depends how you feel comfortable. Nothing is set in stone. If notes are something which are go-to for you, you can use them. If it is not necessary, you don't have to use them. I know we say a lot of time, don't use notes, meaning don't look down and read from there. What I do personally is that I create key points or keywords and will have them on a piece of paper or something in front of me. Because when you create quite extensive notes and you are looking at them and reading at them, then you are disengaged with your audience. So you have to figure out a way which will best work for you in terms of using notes. I use them as a memory landmark more than to read the entire sentences and paragraphs. But figure out what works for you and then do that. You have to engage your audience. That is the key.
All right. I have another question unless somebody likes to add to that.
Have any dressing?
Okay.
Honey mustard.
In a club's evaluations, in a club setting, it is required that the evaluator introduces the speaker and gives the speaker objectives. Or is this done by the Toastmasters of the day? Anybody want to comment on that one? Yes, Debbie.
Sure. Traditionally, it is the Toastmaster who introduces the speaker, but I think in a lot of clubs, it is very common for the Toastmaster to call on the evaluator of the speaker and ask for their objectives or their purpose statement. And that
Yeah,
comes
sure.
from the Pathways project that they're presenting. There's a purpose
Oh,
statement.
wait.
And then also, it could also come from a conversation prior to the start of the meeting of what that specific speaker wants to work on for that project.
Very good. Anybody want to add to that? Or I guess I think that answers the question pretty clear. Now, Sarah asks, I love to hear from the panel how Toastmasters has impacted their respective professional lives. I think that's an excellent question. Farzana.
Sarah, that is a wonderful question. And I'm not sure how long you have been in Toastmasters, but there are many Toastmasters in District 8 who will tell you how Toastmasters have impacted their professional lives. On top of my head, I can think of Dan Darnell, who will say that he got, I believe, if Dan is on call, he got 3 or 5 promotions after being in Toastmasters. And Dan has a very powerful personality by itself. Looking at him, you will think anyone cannot stand in his way, but he still attributes Toastmasters for his professional growth. In my own case, being in Toastmasters have changed the entire trajectory of my professional life. I have not only grown in Toastmasters leadership, but outside of Toastmasters life, due to the confidence I gained from being in Toastmasters, I have started my own leadership platform. I have become a thought leader, which I would have not imagined 10 years ago if I have not joined Toastmasters. That is an indirect and direct impact, if you want to call it. But I owe it to being in Toastmasters and gaining that confidence as a human being. So it really impact your life. You cannot pinpoint it when you are in it, but looking back, you can really certainly see what it has done to your life in a positive way.
Great, thank you. Anybody like to add to that, or would you like me to move to the next question? All right. Debbie, can I work on more than one path at a time? Why would I want to do this?
Yes, thank you for that question. You can definitely work on more than one path at a time. And one of the big reasons you may want to do that, as you get further along in pathways, the higher levels, the projects can sometimes take more time. They are more than just a speech. And so while you're working on those higher levels in one path, you can go ahead and start your next path and start with the level 1 projects where it's more just of a speech or presentation. And then that also, you can look ahead, and if there's projects related to something you're doing in your work life or in an organization you belong to, you can go ahead and get credit for those while you're still working on another path. So yeah, take advantage of that and capitalize on every speaking or project opportunity that you have.
Great, thank you. Farzana, what are the examples of developing through Toastmasters as a formal or informal leader?
Thank you, Tom. That's a good question. I think I just answered it partially in my previous answer. Uh, Toastmasters platform provide and the program provide you opportunities to develop your skills as a formal leader in a volunteer organization because you're not paying anyone to learn. And I'll give my own example, and John, you can laugh at it, but John knows my journey and a lot of you. I started as a member, I became area director, public relations manager, program quality director, district director, and then I also served as a region advisor, which is uh, you are working for world headquarter at that moment. And I did the 2 terms as we already talked about it. And being a formal leader, you can also run for international director position, which I am working on right now. Those are examples in our own Toastmasters world, but outside of that, in your own professions, you can really grow really fast. I gave example of Dan Darnell, but I am sure there are many people in this group who will tell that they were member of the team, but then they got a position of manager or director or vice president because of being in Toastmasters program and learning from there and using it in their professional lives. There are lots of opportunities in that regard.
Okay, thank you, Farzana. So we have a question. What do you say to the disgruntled Toastmaster who feels it's below them to have to do multiple icebreakers? Anyone want to take that one?
That
All
sounds like
right.
a pathways question.
Yeah, okay. All in
Debbie.
favor of Debbie?
Sure, I'll take that one.
Thank you, Debbie.
You know, we are all multi-dimensional people, and if we can't find something else to introduce about our personality, our interest, our experience, how we got to where we are today, then that's pretty sad. And I think it's a cool challenge to actually come up with all those different icebreakers, and it gets you to share another little sliver of your personality with your club.
All right. Anybody want to add to that? Okay, this may be another question for you, Debbie. If you are working on a few pathways, is there a time frame gainable or do pathways rollover? I guess they're asking. I guess they're asking if there's no time frame you have to work them on.
No, there's not. I mean, of course, you know, the legacy program had an expiration date, but since this is a brand new learning platform for us at this time, there would be no expiration date.
They could work on it for 40, 50 years if they whatever.
Of course.
And I have been doing that, Tom, myself. Yeah,
All right, very good.
30 years.
Tom, don't promote
Yes, Farzana.
procrastination. Don't promote procrastination.
I-
There is no timeline on finishing Pathways program, but the timeline and the deadline is for yourself, how fast you want to grow. If you will keep on thinking, because even in legacy program, there was this tendency, I am not ready, because people have a fear of judgment by others. It's not a fear of public speaking, it's a fear of judgment by others. So people will keep putting off on the side that I'm not ready for speaking. So I think giving yourself a deadline is better. Toastmasters is not giving you a deadline in Pathways program.
Okay, thank you. All right, you know how I go for the cheap laugh. All right. So, John, how does an area start a new club?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a tough question. Yeah, starting new clubs, that's a real challenge. How does an area start a new club? I guess our prime source for new clubs are through TI, Toastmaster International. That's our primary source of new clubs. But secondly, it's also a grassroots organization. So I think every member, look at your own employer to see whether they have a club or whether they could co-sponsor a club with somebody else in the same building. I've seen a couple of organizations in a 5-story building that all, got together and they had enough to start a club. So that's another way. And as new clubs, we're always promoting, marketing ourselves. We're sending out mass emails through the Business Journal. We've got some professional lists that we rent to market ourselves. In the old days, I used to tell people if they had an idea for a new club, just go knock on the door and ask to speak to HR. And if she's not or he's not available, ask for the email, and don't leave it up to 1 or 2 people in the entire district. But we're all marketing agents, and if you're driving down Highway 40 and you go, oh, Deerbergs, why don't we have a club in Deerbergs? I go ahead and contact them. Yeah, some people get frustrated when they see an organization that doesn't have a club, but we're all, we're a grassroots organization. So let's, don't be afraid to knock on a door, send an email, and try to get somebody's interest.
All right, thank you, John. Farzana, what kind of mentor you must look for to have a positive success in life?
Uh,
What kind of mentor must you look for to have for a positive success in life?
Thank you, Tom, for that question. Actually, I have done a whole research. My doctoral research is on the concept of mentoring. Uh, and it was, I chose that topic because my life is a result of many, many, many mentors throughout from the beginning of my student life all the way here. Um, what qualities do you look for in a mentor? The first and foremost quality is your connection with that person. Does that person understand you and is really invested in your growth? A lot of time, the concept of formal mentoring is that go and find the most powerful person in an organization so that you can get a promotion. That is a very definition of formal mentoring, and it might not work all the time because that person might not be connected to you, not be vested in you, or will not have time to help you, mentor you. So finding people who understand what you are trying to achieve and who connects with you and who are really vested in you are the mentors you look for. Even in this group, I see a lot of mentors who have helped me personally, and they know who they are. And one of them is on the panel. John has helped me, Curtis has helped me, Tom has helped me. And before that, also, I mean, Tony Gardner was one of the greatest mentors I had. Mary Kerwin was. They both are not in this world. But look for mentors or in a group of mentors who can really connect with you and help you in moving forward in what you are trying to do.
Thank you, Farzana. So Debbie, do I have to work my path projects in order?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. The answer is yes and no. I say no because when Pathways first came out, they limited what projects you could see and they wanted you to work a level at a time. Well, they've opened that up so that you can look ahead and work ahead. But the reason I would say no is for two reasons. Number one, the club can only earn credit and you can only be rewarded for a level completion in order. So if you finish a level 2, but you haven't finished your level 1, you're not going to earn any recognition or credit, neither you nor the club. And then second of all, I think it kind of makes sense when you're working through the paths, you can kind of see how the projects build. That being said, if you're a seasoned Toastmaster and you've been through your first path and you look ahead at your next path and you can see, oh, I've just started my second path, but this level 3 project aligns perfectly with something I'm doing outside the club, then go for it. So was that too wishy-washy of an answer?
I think it may also depend on the some of the projects, like for instance, this is an elective that was in part of motivational strategies. And I could do that even though I'm working on the level 5, I could do that while working on level 4. But I mean, some of these, they didn't necessarily have to be in that order. So you could bounce around a little bit, just depends on the project.
Right.
So there's also, Kathy mentions maybe a good time to remind people about their free path that they have to sign up for by March 31st. Because that's kind of cool. They're offering that. And if you wait till April 1st, you won't get it. No fooling. Oh, sorry. All right. Next question. Let's see. John, how can I prepare for a speech contest?
Oh, okay, good question. Especially we have contests coming up, table topics in the international speech contest. It reminds me, Tom, 10 years ago, I was a finalist in the district and you were the MC and you said, well, John, how do you get the ideas for your speeches? Do you remember that, Tom?
Oh, yes, I do very clearly because I was jealous.
But then the thought raced through, I have a procedure I use and the thought raced through my head of if I tell my secret, the bar is going to go up and I'll never make it to the finals again. But then I thought, well, Toastmasters is an organization where we help each other. So I decided to tell my secret. And this went through my mind in a nanosecond as I was on the stage. But I have a practice of keeping a story binder of incidents that happened through my life. That could be childhood, high school, or even on the work. You know, things that some are humorous, some are lesson learned, or some have a message to deliver to someone else. But I suggest everybody, I mean, start a story journal. It helps you a lot in table topics. I mean, if you've got 30 little 30 items in your story, incidents that happen. I mean, we all have these subconscious incidents that happen during our lifetime, but go ahead and log them. I spend a little time sometimes just logging down all these little incidents or events that happened. And then when you get called on table topics, bang, you got a story to share. And then as if you've got a couple of stories, you can tag them together or you can expand on the story you have and turn it into a 5 or 7 minute speech. That's how almost all of my contest speeches started, with a table topics answer that I expanded. And then you said, well, how do you prepare? Well, I just would stand up and deliver my speech. I would practice it and time myself, and then within each speech, I would put a time frame. You know, like at this point it's 2 minutes. At this point it's 4 minutes, and then you never want to go over 7 minutes because you want to wrap up. Sometimes during a contest, there's longer pauses, or if it's humor, there's laughter, so it may take longer than you timed at home. So I would, if you're practicing a humorous speech or an international speech, cut it off at 7 minutes. But that's how I prepare. And I would encourage everybody to do a story journal. Start that, get a list of 20, 30 things that happened in your life that are humorous or you learned a lesson from, and that way you've got them in your pocket. And they're all the beginning of a speech.
All right. Thank you, John. And there was a question that Debbie answered in the chat, but if you're a member of multiple clubs, can you get multiple free paths? And the answer is no, you just get one free path. And then the other question, there is Debbie sharing the link, the instructions of how to get that free path if it's not intuitive for you when you pull it up. So Farzana, you kind of addressed this, but this is another question that came up. How being in Toastmasters help in developing leadership skills?
So Toastmasters program, from the previous program, also the legacy program, they have a track on building your leadership skills. And we go through it. So the different roles we are doing, why we are in this TLI, Toastmasters Leadership Institute, that's what it means, to understand and learn what your different roles are. So all the 7 club officers are doing their training. That is how leadership skills are developed. So one part is training, the other part is how you implement it or execute it, and you do it by doing. So what you learn as a president of the club, as a sergeant at arms, as a secretary, you actually practice it in your clubs. That is the basic foundation stone on starting on the leadership track, and you move up from there. So after leadership roles in the club, you move to the leadership roles in the district. Area director is the next step up. Then you can go in a larger deck. You can move up to the trio roles, but you can do division director, public relations manager, be on the committees, learn how the committees are run, And once you are done through district leadership role, you can move up to at the international level and all the way up to the president, international president. Toastmasters really have created a program to develop leadership skills for you. And sky is the limit in, or not the limit in that case. It entirely depend on you as an individual, how much you want to grow as a leader. And of course, I will say, along with Toastmasters program, reading and learning and self-developing yourself is very important, to be self-aware that how you can enhance your skill set which you have. I say what, who and what stands in front of us in developing. It's only one person, you yourself. If you take yourself from in front of you, instead of procrastination, just do it. You will be a great leader in your own capacity.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Farzana. Another question that came up is, what's the difference between pathways and Basecamp? Debbie.
Sure, that's a great question. Pathways is the name of the educational program that we do. So there's, as Tom talked about in our trivia earlier, there's 11 different paths and pathways, but Basecamp is the platform or the area of the TI website where you actually access that training platform, that pathways.
Okay. Very good. Do we have any other questions for our panelist? So I'm going to turn this around since we have some time here. Let's see. Do our panelists have questions for their panel, for the other panelists?
I do.
Okay.
I have a question for John Barry. So our club had a section on its website for a speakers bureau, and we haven't gotten any inquiries lately. Would we be better off using the district's platform and letting the district, letting our members go through District 8? Would that open up more opportunities?
Good question, Debbie. I'm aware that you have a speakers bureau on your South County Toastmasters. Yeah. And you have some great speakers in that club too. I know many of them. Yeah, I would recommend you do that. As we're trying to promote demand. Yeah, your speakers bureau has some great content, great speakers, bios, topics. But we got to get people to contact us. So that's our goal right now for the district, is create demand and try and optimize our website. We're kind of promoting ourselves just as a speakers bureau in St. Louis rather than a Toastmaster speakers bureau. I want people, if they're looking for a speaker, they'll go to Google and type in Speakers Bureau St. Louis, and we want to be at the top of the list. So we would welcome your speakers to join our District 8 Speakers Bureau. Of course, that gives us a lot more content, a lot more stronger speakers. So I would suggest you do that. Yeah, we could join those two together.
Great, thanks, John.
Farzana.
So Debbie, on your question, I think the overall goal is to promote district in our geographical region where District 8 exists. So having one message, one umbrella is better than if 96 clubs decide to have their own speakers bureau. And then what is district doing, and how is district coming in front of the larger geography that they can go to any club and ask? I think consolidating all the efforts will help in that regard. And Toastmasters district, the district speaker bureau can be more strong in that way. So I think if you all join hands and send out one message that District 8 is providing great speakers under the speaker bureau, that will be that will generate more energy and more interest from the larger geography.
Thank you.
I hope that helps. Yes. So Debbie, I have a question for you.
Sure.
I'm not sure if we have met in person before, maybe we have, but you seem to be very enthusiastic in District 8. What is your source of enthusiasm? Why you are doing all this and you are so involved in pathways also?
Um, well, it's kind of funny. I kind of fell into it. I became the vice president of education in my club. And then 2 weeks later, I was told there was this new training platform. And in my real job, I train people on using an electronic health record. So I'm a computer trainer. So it was just kind of natural for me to help people through pathways. And then also in my club, I had a lot of older, more seasoned members. And, it was a challenge to get them to let go of the legacy program and make the transition to pathways. And I guess that's how I, got so vested in the process. And I just love helping people. And I think Toastmasters has so much to offer people. And if I can, help them by getting into pathways, then that's great.
So Debbie, you hit the key point over here that you are so motivated to help other people, and you found and you can see the potential of Toastmasters, and I really appreciate and thank you for all you are doing, because I think you are truly enthusiastic from your heart. So that's a great thing. Thank you for all of your service.
Sure.
John, I have a question for you.
Okay.
And it is on the same line, but and we have had this conversation behind the scenes also. You have been in Toastmasters for last 20 years, correct?
Yes, 30 years, actually.
Sorry, how much? How many?
30 years.
30 years. Okay. Why are you still here? Okay, and that does not mean that you say, okay, I'm leaving, because you have said that many times. But what is in your capacity, and you have done tremendous job for District 8. Tom already mentioned your bio. In your bio, you have helped in charting over 100 clubs, which is a great feat. So what is really in there which you think have more kept you motivated to be in Toastmasters in District 8?
Okay, yeah, I going back to the start, I joined Toastmasters when I took a new job, and on the first day they asked me to make a presentation to 85 people, and I thought, oh my, and that night I called Toastmasters. I said, when do you meet? I'll be there, and I joined that night. And it helped me in that job. It helped me do that job. It was with an association where I had to be master of ceremonies for big conferences, like we're doing right here. But that was my purpose in joining. But it took maybe 2, 3, 4 years before I gained the confidence to do that job. And Toastmasters has done so much for me that I'm so grateful for the organization, that it's a chance to give back and make other people aware of Toastmasters. I mean, we're all in the same boat, working in companies and participating in seminars or meetings, and being able to express an opinion in front of other people. It's so important in our careers and in our personal life. That's why I want to help promote Toastmasters and make it available to other people. I want to kind of give back to the organization for what it's done for me. And that's my purpose in working new clubs. That's just a quick path to meeting new peoples and introducing Toastmasters. And I've enjoyed it, and I'm still doing it.
And I hope you will continue to do it despite of some of the heartbreaks you encounter from time to time. But thank you for your great work for District 8, and also as a speaker in District 8.
Well, thank you, Farzana. I have a question for you, Farzana. You you mentioned earlier that being an international director was on the horizon. Can you explain what is an international director and how does that different from a regional advisor?
So region advisors are operational leaders in Toastmasters world. They help district crews, district leaders to run their district operations, whatever problems they encounter. So as a region advisor, there are 14 regions in the world. So at the same time, there are only 19 region advisors out of 358,000 members of Toastmasters globally. So that is how critical that role is. And in every region, they try to, in terms of the number of people, how many region advisor can manage. There are typically 10 districts which region advisors are responsible for. So that translates to roughly 22,000 to 25,000 members in the region. How does it differ for international director? International directors are strategic leaders of Toastmasters International, and there is one international director for every region. So there are 14 international directors in the board of directors for Toastmasters International. Region advisor is an selective position, which means that board and international president meet and they decide who will be region advisors. International director is an elected position, which means that a whole campaign has to be run to get elected, because the entire membership, 358,000 members, and actually the clubs in the region and in the world vote for international director. All clubs, meaning give their consensus on whom they want to be an international director, and they vote for all international directors, not just for their region. That is how important it is. So international director campaign is very involved. I just went through a nomination interview where there were more than 6 members from the board who interviewed you on Zoom. It's quite intense. And the preparation for it meant that I have a whole committee of people who helped me in preparing for the for the interview. But after the interview, committee decides who will be nominated to run for the elections. Once that nomination comes out, international directors run the campaign, meaning they reach out to all the clubs, all the members in the entire world. And then our members will vote at the international convention to to elect their international directors. So it is quite an interesting, involved process. It is a great learning opportunity, win or lose, but going through that process really enhanced your leadership skills. And I am amazed at the new level, what leadership means. And I wish the larger world can learn from how Toastmasters run their election campaigns. I
Well,
mean, there is a lot involved in it. I can go on and on, but I hope I have answered the question.
yeah, you have, Farzana. The district is very proud to have a member from District 8 run for regional, not regional, but international director. And you can be assured you have our votes. You have my vote and hopefully all of District 8.
Thank you. I want to mention one thing. Is a past international director from District 8, Chuck Carpenter, Charles Carpenter. I think he was international director he was not in 24, he was in, do you remember, John, when he was an international director? I believe it
Oh,
was 90s. It was 1990s that he was the past international director. So far in the history of District 8, we have been over 75-year-old district. We only had a one past international director, and I am the second one running. That is how much is at stake for District 8. And there are other people from Region 5 who are running for this international director position.
okay. Thank you.
Cool.
I'm very proud of Chuck Carpenter. He is a tremendous mentor. He was in my first club, and he is a great human being. That's his best quality.
Right. Okay. So one of the questions that And some of this we touched on, but sometimes people, how did you start? What motivated you to get involved with Toastmasters? And I guess we've heard from some of you on that. Anybody want to add anything else about what their motivation was, what your story was?
હેલો હા જય
Sure.
શ્રી કૃષ્ણ મમ્મી હું અત્યારે
Second. All right, go ahead.
Go ahead, Debbie.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Sure. As I mentioned, got this job in healthcare IT where I was training people on using a computer platform. And I was also training doctors, and it can be challenging to keep their attention. And I just didn't have that level of confidence. And Toastmasters has really given me that confidence to talk to a group of people and command their attention. And it's just been a huge help. And then by surprise, I found out I also gained some leadership skills. Imagine that.
Okay.
Okay.
And Tom, that is a great question. I think I have told my story so many times that I'm getting tired of it. But I have presented my entire career, my professional life. I'm an architect. What do you do when you become a project leader? You present to your client, you present to your consultants, and consultants are all different kinds of engineers, structural, mechanical, electrical, whatnot. Everyone have a different personality. They listen to you out of the respect because you are an architect, you are a master for the project. But outside of that, I realize I don't have a confidence in speaking in front of strangers outside of my professional circles. There was a bad experience that's made me join Toastmasters. My timeline for myself was 6 months. How much more can I learn in Toastmasters? But here is John, 30 years. I'm not at 30 years yet, but 10 years later, Toastmasters have given me the skills both in communication and leadership, which I have not imagined. And I think you can continue. I will continue until I am here because it is a constant practice. It's a muscle memory. By doing, you learn more and continue to do. If you leave it, you forget it. So Toastmasters have, those are the motivations behind it.
All right. Very good. So we have only about 3 minutes left. Does anybody have any final advice or words of wisdom, maybe to new Toastmasters? Farzana,
Just keep doing it.
just keep doing in 4 words. Wow. Short and succinct.
Contest season is coming up. I encourage everybody, that's a good way to stretch your abilities, is to compete in a contest. Table topics or the international speech contests are coming up, and I'm sure the clubs will be having contests in January or maybe February, but I would encourage everybody to jump in and compete. That's a good way to stretch.
And you don't have to do much to prepare for table topics. You just show up, right?
Right. You show up and you have 30 topics in your hip pocket, like I did.
Is that for one for each year you've been in Toastmasters?
Yep, that's right, Tom. Yep.
All right. So, right, I
Debbie,
guess
do you want to give a piece of advice?
go pathways.
Sure, I'll give a piece. I say just jump in and get involved. Take a leadership role. So many people kind of stand back, and it's good to just jump in, and everybody in your club is going to be supportive and help you. And that's how you grow. So, as everyone keeps saying, keep doing it, step out of your comfort zone, do something different, something new.
And I'll say that for myself too. I've been involved with Toastmasters 25 years. And I've tried to get involved with different aspects. I've been in the treasurer, the finance manager. I've done parliamentarian stuff. I've learned all about webmasters, and I just do these things. I really enjoy it, and it's a volunteer. It's fun, and I get a lot out of it. And it's funny, a lot of what I've learned in Toastmasters, I'm involved with Scouts, and I use this in Scouts, and I use it in the ski club. And what I learned in the ski club, I'm the webmaster for all three of my programs. And so it's just great that involving one will help you in others. So yes, get out, do it. All right. Hey, this 11:30.